Hey everybody. I am working on teasing out this code so that I can have a good light service. And I was watching yesterday's video and I saw that there is actually, in fact, a major problem with taking this code and moving it in the scene into the service, and that's because of this. Basically, we want to remove the old light uh, and from the scene, and I don't really want to interact with the scene from the light manager. I think the next step would be to, I guess, I don't think I need. This is the order of this doesn't matter, right? So like I can just go like this, and I can move this code over here, and that's fine. That won't affect anything because basically all I do is remove it from the list of lights that exist in the light service. And then I get a reference to the old light. So basically I go, no, actually, if I remove it, I won't be able to get a reference to it. So no, I'm wrong. Okay, um, so I want to get a reference to it before I, okay, so basically all this does is filter the lights out of the light service. So I get that from the light service list. So I don't think that matters, right? So basically I can remove the old light from the scenes before I remove it from the list. That should be fine. And then everything else is fine, right? I can remove from the list. I can add I can re-add the light item, and then I can create my new light, and then I can, um, oh, and then here's another thing that I would not want to do from the light service. So I need to update the light that I'm operating in within here. So that needs to happen here. This needs to happen here. This needs to happen here. This is only for this. So, and then like this probably from the, and that's 3JS. Okay, so this could happen. Ideally, this will ideally service. Okay, and then this, and then that goes with this. So those, and then this is an example. Ideally, this happens in the light service. And then add light, I think could should happen in the light service. And then getting the new light would happen here. Now, what does add light do? See, it returns a light item. And what I'd really like is the actual 3 light. But so that can't. So then this goes and retrieves it from the that and just updates it. So this could, basically this could happen. Like I could just call like get light or something like that from the ThreeJS and assign it there. But um, but really all this is literally doing is this, and then it would have to be reassigned here and this. So basically searching the light service lights to find this. Like I guess I could have like just a generic function that returns a light when you give it an ID. I guess that would make sense to have in the ThreeJS. I mean, in the light service. Okay, so shit. And then okay, so right off the bat, I guess it makes sense to just have like a generic function in the light, not a generic function, but a function in the light service that just returns for a given ID, it returns the light, right? So that makes sense. So we'll just say get ThreeJS light ID, and I believe that's a number. And it returns a supported light. And basically it is this. Is that? No, that's not right. So basically it goes through the lights list, and it's where the light is equal to the ID that was passed in. And we're going to return that, and I'm just going to assume that it is not undefined. And that's what this does here. Don't ask for it if it doesn't exist. Probably come back to bite me in the butt later. Okay, so old light is equal to I think that's right. I'm going to hit undo real quick just to make sure that makes sense. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So I'm doing that there. And then okay, so add light item. Okay. Oh, okay. So all right, so I messed something up here because this light item ID needs to be updated. I don't know where that was happening, so I have definitely lost a important step here. So let's just kind of go back through here, back to where we started. Okay, so where does the light item ID? All right, so light item, okay, so what happens when you change is that the light item ID gets moved to the previous item ID, and then I find the old light, and then I remove the old light from the list, and then I remove it from the scenes, and then I add my new light item. And then, yeah, this seems to be problematic because, oh, okay, because up in add, I get my new, oh, and I return a light item, which is the same light item. So the ID gets updated behind the scenes during the add, which that is very confusing. So let me put a note. Um, right? So basically, whenever we add the light, what'll happen is we pass in a reference to this light item. And then so we add our light in the light service to the light item. Let's go look at the light service, go to the definition. As soon as we add it, we set the light item ID. So this is where that light item ID gets set. So I wonder if that's worth mentioning here. So basically it will get updated in the thing. That's something that a lot of people just do not like about JavaScript. And I will admit that's not the most, doesn't make the most sense in the world. All right, so basically now when we add this light, okay, so basically we grab this light item ID and we added it in the previous ID, and then we get our old light out of the we get a reference to the old light, to the existing old light out of the list of lights. So, and I think that's fine, light. And so we can say get light item.id, and then we remove it from our, we remove the light from that based on the ID. So the ID still has not changed. And then we go to the scene and we remove the old light, and I do not know how they do that. That is definitely happens inside of ThreeJS. Then we add our lights, so now we have our new ID, and then we create a new. Then we get a reference to the new light by this get. Let's just say this .light service. Okay, so now we have our new light. Okay, so we don't really need that line online. We can just make that one line, which makes a lot of sense. And then we don't really need, yeah, so we reassign it there. Okay, let's just see if that works. So I believe we'll know that this works because I don't think we were able to animate. We won't be able to animate it if it doesn't. So, and I just cannot stress enough how, like, if on the last round I had moved this code over before I'd done the spotlight, if I had moved it into a service, I would not be having these problems right now. It would have been a little harder to put it into the service, but a lot of these problems just would never have happened, and refactoring would be a lot easier. So, you know, it just waited a little too long to do this refactor. Oh, so that did not work. And I don't think it throws an error. I think it's just a, yeah, it's just going to be a wrong reference. Okay, so let's try. I don't see how this could have made a difference. Let's see, mesh, add mesh, show edit form, -2, 100, 100, Fong, lights, add lights. Oh no, did I not? Did I bet. I don't know if I moved this to out to 2. Okay, let's go back. Okay, Control S. So a spotlight won't work if the light is projecting to the same spot that it is at, and that by default I set these things at 0, and then the light gets created at 0, so it's projecting on itself, and that's a problem. 100 basic Fong, add the light, edit, move this guy out to 2, and spotlight. Yeah, okay, so it was just me more it was more me just not setting up the light properly in ThreeJS. Okay, so now I've got this get ThreeJS light, and okay, this we definitely know needs to stay there. We know the add light has to happen at this point, and that's fine, because that's all happening. All the work of that is happening in the service, and then the scenes remove needs to happen here, and then this filtering probably makes sense to create like a simple remove. How I added like the add or get, like remove a light in the ThreeJS service, so that I don't have to, so that that's happening over there. And then old light, get ThreeJS light. All the real work's happening in ThreeJS. Okay, so remove from the list. So really, this is going to be deleting the old light from the list. um, is what I'm trying to do. So I get a reference to the old light, and then I delete it from the list. Now that sounds weird, right? Because it's like, oh, you're deleting something that you're going to use, but see, I didn't delete all references to it. So the reference still exists. I just removed it from the list. It's no longer in the list, but it still exists. And the place that it still exists is A, where I just created the reference, but B, it also exists in the scenes. And so then once I remove it from the scenes, that should open up that piece of memory for the garbage collector to come and take away. So I'm going to create a function in light service called delete 3JS light. And I'm just going to send it the light item .id. And then I should not need this anymore. And now let's go over to light service, and I'm just going to copy this, and it's not going to return anything. Let's see, where's my get? And this returns a void, so it doesn't return anything. And then let me go and what this will do is it will actually go through the list and filter it out and then assign it back to lights. So lights will no longer have a reference to it. Like I said, it still exists, and that's kind of like what causes that's what causes that's why it's so easy to create a memory leak inside of JavaScript, is because these references, it's very difficult to manage the references. I don't think there's any way to see what all references to an object exist. There's no backwards chaining. I remember this one dude had found a version of a browser that gave you that information. Like you could see where all the references existed, and that was really good because that was very informative. It was like probably like one of the most valuable, like in the top 4 most valuable videos I've ever seen in my life about JavaScript. Like he really demonstrated how these memory leaks come along and why they're so hard to get rid of. And I remember it was a series of like 16, a video series of like 16 videos, and they were like 3 years old, and like 40 people had watched the first video, and I was the only person who watched the last 6 videos, which like at that point is like when I realized, oh man, the number of people who watch a video has nothing to do with the value of a video. So, okay, cool. So that's working. And that's why I don't get all spun up about the number of people who watch these videos, but I cannot believe how many people watch these videos. I mean, it's like, it blows me away that so many people subscribe and watch these videos, because I really only thought that all my videos would get like 2 or 3 or 4 watches at the most. So, when I see a video get like 50 or 100 watches, it blows my mind. And the fact that I have like 136 or 138 subscribers is just mind blowing to me. But anyways, but I guess maybe like I think the vast majority of my subscribers are not from the United States. So, maybe there's like other cultures where like they're more into programming than people are here. So maybe that's, why I get more views than I expected. Because I don't run into many people here in the US that are truly interested in programming, especially once they find out what it takes to, like, what programming really is. Um, but anyways, this is working. I feel like this is like, I'd kind of like that to be into. I just can't see creating a whole function that says assign previous ID or some update previous ID or something like that. And then this, like, all the actual logic of this is in the service. All the actual logic of this is in the 3G. It's literally just calling it. This belongs in here. And eventually it'll probably be like remove from scene, and I'll pass it in a light. And then the light gets updated function. Yeah, this dot add light is just calls to the add light, and all that light service, all the guts of that is, and then this belongs here. So I feel like while it's kind of stinks that we do all this work in this, why the update in here has got so much stuff in it. I just don't see any alternative at this point. Push lights, attach spotlight target. This just gets a spotlight, or just basically courses it into a spotlight. This just updates the spotlight for the animation service. So that's exactly how that should be. Yeah. I feel like this whole function is in the right place. I think there's only one other. Yeah, this is the only other function that needs to move over. Like, this definitely needs to stay here. Golly, actually, I don't even see anything over here that really should move over. I guess both of these should be updated to get to use the get light, right? Because that is a 3GS light. So yeah, so I don't need that extra. This guy up here. That makes sense to do that. And then I think in the delete light, it'll make sense to do that. And I think that's going to be it for tomorrow. I guess we should just make sure that this works. And I think just to make sure that works, all we need to do is update a light. So I don't even think it has to be a spotlight. So we'll wait for this, add the mesh, show it, move it to -2, turn it into a Fong. I wonder why they call it a Fong. I guess that would be a good question for ChatGPT. Add light, and then move it out to 2. Yeah, it got dimmer. Yeah, that's all working. I bet you this is another long video. Yep, 30 minutes. Sorry. Yeah, so in the last 3 days, that's an hour and a half of videos. They should have been like this whole thing should have been done in like 10 minutes. But I waited like a little bit too long to move the up to do this 3J to do the light service. And because I waited a little too long, I had more coupling than could easily be lifted and shifted over. And the reality is, and as I mentioned that for the last couple of days, you can actually get to the point where it's just not even feasible to lift and shift anymore. And I swear, I almost every place I've ever worked, there's been this point in time where you start hearing people say, "Oh yeah, you know what? At some point we need to move all that into its own service." And then, like some high up architect or something will be like, "Yeah, one day I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to do," and it never happens. And that's because, in these enterprise applications, a lot of times you just have all this weird coupling going on, and it's just going to be totally impossible to not impossible, but like so expensive and so time consuming to rewrite everything so that you can lift and shift that stuff. So, anyways, yeah, so that was probably something that should have taken 10 minutes, and now it's taken an hour and a half, and that's not unusual. That happens all the time, guys, especially guys and gals, especially if you let things kind of get too big and out of hand before you sort of divide. If you wait too long, like you can over divide, right? You can start dividing stuff up and then end up with like 100 functions with one line in them each, and that's too much. But then if you get a function with 1,000 lines in it, you've gone too far in the other way, and you probably won't be able to undo that. And there's a certain point where a function just gets to a certain size, and a set of behavior gets to a certain size, and it just needs to be moved into its own space. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.